This is Radio Free Romania, the birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution. From Cowork 591 Studios, this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with co-host Dale Rueber and producer Blake Tempus, the people that run the show. I am Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for October 16th, 2023. On today's podcast, we talk about winners and losers. We have some fun facts. We talk about the assassination of John F. Kennedy Jr. Excuse me, Senior. John F. Kennedy Senior.
Right.
Thank you.
I was thinking, I don't know anything about juniors. Okay.
We look at co-work at 591 a little bit. We look at the events inside the Steve Brown Arts Center. We give you the top stories in Jesup. We have Chad Kohagen, the superintendent of schools at Jesup Community School, on with us tonight. And we discuss service and art as always, and Dale has something special for you. The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. It will be offering a community programming starting in Jesup, Iowa, before expanding to neighboring communities. Programming will include a community speaker series that will showcase existing creatives who reside within the community, as well as pop-up series that will spotlight and partner with local businesses to provide opportunities for community engagement. Since May 13th, Dale, the Steve Brown Arts Center has had 31 events it's been involved in.
Is that right? That's an awful lot.
It is.
Yeah.
The Brown would be real happy with that, and I know we've been doing a lot for the children and the people of Jesup and the surrounding areas, and we're real happy with that. So first, let's hit it off, Dale. Let's talk about the winners and losers first.
Okay. Well, my winner, and kind of been on Caitlin Clark, just signed a big contract with State Farm Insurance, and so she was Steph Curry and all those other guys that do those commercials. She just continues to just go on and on and on, and so I really hope she has a good senior season, because boy, that'd be the biggest stump you ever heard, wouldn't it, if she would just, I don't know, but I can't imagine her ever doing that. But it's just fantastic and amazing how that young girl really captured the sports world, men and women, and so I hope they're able to play that game this weekend.
It is this Saturday.
Yeah, this coming, because that should be 40,000 plus tickets, I think, so for that. And if they can't have it due to the weather, then certain people get to go inside and watch. They're going to play the game anyway, but it'd be nice if they could have it outside. It'd be quite a treat.
It's they have a lot to do, but they don't want to injure the athletes.
Well, that's
obviously
the thing. So you have to temper all that and not let your ambition get ahead of what's good for everybody. What a young lady, huh? And just doing well, and it's nice to see the kids getting paid what they have. And I'm sure she's got it all coming, and so.
If you watch her, Dale, physically, and she's slight anyhow. She's long, she's trim, but she works real hard in the weight room. She puts on a lot of muscle in the off season, and obviously she has more free time in the summertime. She puts on more mass. If you look at her now and then look at her in February, and as I've watched her the last 2 or 3 seasons, she loses a lot of weight during the season.
I would bet she'd have to.
Yeah. And that is what I worry about with her. She has a lot of NIL money, and I worry about fatigue. She plays so hard, and there's a lot of people who are jealous of her. Basketball has become more violent, and it's not uncommon for people to get hurt from that violence.
Yeah, no. She gets bumped around pretty good.
She does.
I mean, they know, the opposing team knows that's what they have to do. And, I just, I'm just amazed by how well she does. And that the recognition, because I don't think of Iowa kids playing sports getting that kind of nationwide recognition, or even overseas now, I'm sure, with basketball people. But it's just been a phenomena that's just nothing I've ever experienced before. So
Right.
good for her.
My winner is the Democrats in the House of Representatives. The Republicans are shooting themselves in the foot by not having the House open the last 5.5, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they were on vacation for 5 weeks, an extra long vacation this year, and they come back and they run House Speaker McCarthy out, and
Took another week
then
off.
they take
Yeah.
another week off. And
Yeah.
I know what they were doing. They were trying to make plans for another speaker. And so everybody went home. But it doesn't help the American people. In the meantime, Hamas went over the border in Israel, and one of the largest terrorist attacks since 9/11. So, and the House is nowhere to be found. And it's because the Republicans cannot make a decision.
Yeah. Even what, and I know you don't because nobody does, but I can't figure out what they had, the Hamas, what they thought they were going to gain, because Israel, the people of Israel, they have no place to go. I mean, that's the only country in the world where Jewish people can live and be relatively secure in the fact they're in their own country. And you knew that they were going to just come back and just beat the hell out of Gaza, which, I mean, they have block after block after block of rubble there. So what did they hope to gain? I can't figure it out. They had to know that it would be brutal when it was all over. So
I have a long answer to that, Dale.
okay,
First, to tell you, there are two former Jesup students that are dating Palestinians. I talked to both of those students in the last 2 days. Both talked about the grief that their friends, the people they're dating are experiencing, and I asked one of them. Well, there's got to be a reason. I asked them 3 questions. First off, who's the head of Hamas that made this order? There has to be one person. I mean, we have Chad Kohagen on tonight on our program. Chad has control of Jesup Community Schools. There's got to be one head of Hamas that okayed this. Second, what did they see as a value to this? They had to see it as a value because they knew Israel believes in retribution.
yeah. Their whole thing is never again.
Right.
After the whole, never again. And so they will do anything it takes. So
And I heard Netanyahu say we're going to change the Middle East forever after this event.
yeah.
And the third thing is who financed this? Because they went in with paragliders, they went in with drones, they went in, they went in with automatic weapons. Somebody had to be financing that stuff. It is, by somebody, I mean a state. A lot of people want to say it was probably Iran. And Hamas is Shia. For those of you not familiar, there's 2 sections of Islam, Shia and Sunni. And Shia believes that the leadership of Islam should have been an ancestor or someone with the closest ties to Muhammad. That is Shia. Sunnis believe the leader should be the most learned about the religion of Islam. And the majority, 80% or 85% of the population of Islam is Sunni.
Okay.
It has to be a country that is predominantly Shia, and there's very few countries that are predominantly Shia. Iran is one of them. So it's more than likely Iran.
Yeah.
Dale, who's your loser?
Well, my loser was the chance for world peace. It's just what we've been talking about here. You can see like this just spreading all over the Middle East if people get their back up. And if the wrong things happen, the wrong words are said, we could be in for a mass conflict involving lots of nations and lots of people. So I think world peace is in danger right now. So that was my loser, was world peace.
Do you believe, Dale, that there is a chance for a World War III because of this?
Well, because of this and everything else, yeah, because I think if Israel is attacked by several different countries, I believe that they have nuclear capability, and I think they would use it to save themselves. And so once one of those things goes off, then who knows what's going to happen next. It just takes one to open the gate. So I really think that it could, because there are Muslims all over the world, in in Europe and America and this sort of thing, and so the potential is there for a lot of hard. Once people get their backs up, it gets bad, and so I don't know. And this has been bothering me the last 5 days, was longer than that, but how they train young people to kill and really be murderers. If you watch some of them, they show the guy walk up and shooting a young person hiding behind a car. So they're not combatant at all. They don't have a weapon, but they just automatically kill them. And they say that old people and young children were just shot and killed, whole households. How do you do that and then go home at night and your wife says, what'd you do at work today? I don't understand how they train people to live with those kind of deeds that they do. It's one thing to teach people. There's a movie. It's about Marine Corps boot camp in the 50s. Jack Webb is in it, and he's the DI. And he gets in this guy's face, and he says, Rodriguez, you wake up this morning, and you're surrounded by 500 of the enemy. What do? He says, kill them, sir. And that was the right answer. But that's the enemy. That's not women and children and this sort of thing. And I know there's been American soldiers that have committed atrocities and this sort of thing, but the average American kid, if he's ordered to shoot a baby or an old woman or something, I think is not. I don't think I could have followed that kind of order, and so I don't know what it is they do to these people to make it so easy for them to become murderers. You think about how many young kids Putin has turned into a murderer because he sent those young conscripts into Ukraine, and all the atrocities that have been reported out of there by these young soldiers. And so, I don't know, that bothers me more than anything. I sometimes think if you took the worst 100 people in the world, and then one day the sun comes up and all of them are just a little pile of dust in their bed, 100 people would make such a terrific difference in how the world is, I think. But I don't know. But I know nothing. I just, you think about stuff and it drives you crazy. So
yeah, unfortunately, Dale, that 100 people creates a vacuum, and that vacuum
it's filled.
is filled up, and there's 100 more people that are doing
you
the same thing.
do you want to be a little pile of dust next, or do you want to try to do something good for people? I don't know, but I know that's just pipe dream, just stupid things. It's been that way. I think John the Baptist didn't commit any crime, but he ticked off the king and the king's wife and the daughter, and so they send a soldier down to bring back his head. This soldier, did he kill him by cutting off his head, or did he kill him and then cut off his head? How does he feel about it? Never mentioned. How does the soldier feel about the whole thing? He has to do this or he's going to die. Did that do anything to him? Kill a man and cut off his head just because he irritated the king. And so that soldier has to live with that. Those are the things we don't know anything about.
Well, Dale, great minds think alike here. As my losers for the week are the people of Israel that were killed in the attack. They figure at least 1,000 Israelis, and they figure 14 Americans plus another small group were kidnapped. And other countries, there were a number of Thais killed. All sorts of people, and then the poor people of Gaza. That Hamas builds themselves as a social agent, and they supply the people of of Gaza with food and water and electricity and things like that.
Yeah.
but they're also a terrorist organization. Hamas, actually, if you go to many countries through the world, has offices on street corners throughout the world because they build themselves as a social agency.
Yeah.
But the people of Gaza, as you say, struggle because Netanyahu and his Israelis are going to carpet bomb, many of the buildings there, and they're getting ready for the ground war now. The other issue, I told you I was talking to those two people from Jesup. Neither one of the people that they're dating's families can return to Palestine. Legally return to Palestine.
Yeah.
They are immigrants of America, and they no longer can go back. So there's no winner. Israel doesn't win. Palestine doesn't.
No, there's no winner at all. A lot of loss.
Yeah.
And what happens now? Well, 5 years from now, you can trace something back to this day. I think that'll happen. People have long memories.
This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network.
Everybody happy.
Well,
I hate it when I get such a glum thing, but I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's all right. That's all right. Here's some random facts for you, Mr. Reed.
Are they good random facts
They
about how many
are.
people were killed? Or
They
no? All right,
are.
go ahead.
True
I
or
have some
false?
too. All right.
True or false? Avocados are a fruit, not a vegetable.
I guess I always consider them to be a fruit.
You are correct.
Oh, am I really? Okay.
They are technically considered a single-seeded berry.
Okay. What do you remember when you first saw avocados?
I don't remember that.
Okay, I was in the Marine Corps out in California. I had never heard of them, never seen one.
Right.
And they served them. They would cut them in half, and with a little dimple where the seed was, they put sour cream in that, and that's how they served it. But they were on the menu a lot.
Okay.
And I never ate one because I had no idea what they were.
Right.
So I'm going to put that green thing in my mouth. So okay.
Okay, give me one.
All right. Humans are the only animals that can
Argue.
argue. No. Have you ever seen cats scrap? No, the only animals that blush.
Blush.
That blush, they get that reddening. And Mark Twain said they're the only one animals that need to blush.
Oh,
all right.
yes.
So, all right.
Yes. All right. Trypophobia is the fear of
Tri is 3. And what's the next part?
pop or trypo, P-O.
Okay, I know what that is.
Trypophobia
Okay.
is a fear
Fear
of
of going to the bathroom.
Good guess. It is a closely packed holes.
I'm sorry. Closely packed.
An aversion of the sight of irregular patterns or clusters of small holes or bumps.
Oh,
No crumpets for them.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
I heard the other day that Johnny Carson, his greatest fear was backing into a doorknob.
Oh, really? Okay. What do you got?
I think I made that. No, somebody made that. Okay. I can't make this a question because I don't know how. But it's about Kim Kardashian. Do you know who her dad is?
Bruce
Jenner, yeah, sure, okay.
Bruce Jenner. It's what do they call? The name has changed.
Yeah. Caitlyn. Is
Caitlyn Jenner.
Or Caden or something.
Yes.
Yeah, something different. Yeah.
Yes.
And but man, he was a good athlete.
Incredible.
You talked about earlier throwing the discus and everything. So Kim Kardashian has a glam clause in her will, and it states that if she's ever in a position where she can't get ready herself, can't communicate, or she's unconscious, someone has to make sure her hair, nails, and makeup are all perfect. So
that is interesting. The Rock.
yeah. Well, just a minute. So my mother-in-law.
Yes.
My wife was the in charge of her. When what do you call it? In the will.
The executive.
The executive of her will,
yeah.
and so Virginia said to Deb, says, "Now, I want to have a viewing in the casket, but if I don't look good, then I don't want to open casket viewing." So Deb had to make that decision about whether or not she looked good enough to have an open casket.
No pressure there.
Yeah,
Deb.
that's the thing. So, yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right. Dwayne the Rock Johnson
The wrestler.
The wrestler.
And the movie actor?
The
Yeah,
movie
okay,
actor.
all right, go ahead.
He, in all of his contracts for movies, he has a stipulation he cannot lose a fight.
Oh, okay.
So cannot lose a match.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that vanity or?
That might be.
Okay.
Sort of like me, a little narcissistic, probably.
Well, but you got a right to it, you know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Australia is wider. The moon sits at 3,400 kilometers in diameter. Australia sits at 4,000 kilometers in diameter.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay.
I know you probably peeked at this, but what's the term for 1/100th of a second?
Blemish, a blink.
No, it's a jiffy.
Jiffy.
If someone says, "I'll be there in a jiffy," that's 1/100th of a second. So it's actually a true measurement, a word for a measurement, not just slang like I always thought it was.
Ah.
If it'd be there in a jiff, when
Okay.
will that be? Okay.
All right. What is the only part of the body that cannot heal itself?
The brain.
Good try.
Oh, that's true too. I mean, that's true. I mean, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that brain cells are the only cells that couldn't regenerate. You know, once they're dead, they're gone. So that's why I said the brain.
Right.
But yeah, teeth cannot fix themselves.
No.
that's true.
That's
yeah.
my dentist.
Yeah, Mary Jones fixes teeth.
I sent Dr. Kegler's son to dental school. Okay.
Okay, can I read this as a fun fact?
Yes.
In the course of an average lifetime, while sleeping, you could eat around 70 different insects and 10 spiders or more. And this reminded me of a fun fact I had heard where in your lifetime, you're never more than 5 to 10 feet away from a spider, no matter where you're at. So that there's gazillions of them, and they're all over the place. So they're crawling all over Blake right now, waiting to jump over here on us. So,
Did you know in Switzerland,
all right, my favorite country.
and you were an elementary teacher, so I reckon you probably had creatures in your room, so I'll ask you this question when
Okay.
I'm done. But
All
in
right.
Switzerland, it is illegal to own just one guinea pig because it's considered animal abuse because they are social beings and get lonely.
Oh,
So did you have like guinea pigs in your room?
I had gerbils.
Gerbils.
Yeah, it's interesting because I let the kids name them in the class the first year I had them, and the boy was named Christopher and the girl was named Heather.
Oh.
So my son was taking a course at Drake University, and he called and he said, "How did you choose my name? Where did my name come?" I said, "Well, I named you after a gerbil." Said I had 2 gerbils in my class, and one was Chris and one was Heather, and so usually your last 2 kids you're named after my pair of gerbils I had in my classroom. So.
Oh, that's so much fun. I can remember coming to school real early one day. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning in the winter, and I was walking down the hall and I stopped. I saw something stop and stand up on its hindquarters and look down the hall at me. Mm-hmm. And it was a guinea pig that had escaped from one of the elementary classrooms.
Okay. Yeah.
Looking for some social time. It
Yeah.
must have been.
Yeah. Now I changed classrooms, so I set my cage with the gerbils on this bookshelf right by the windows, and we had those. They were curtains that were lined with asbestos in
Right.
those days, and so the gerbils started gnawing on those curtains. And by the time I realized it had a big hole, and they didn't make it too long after that, and so I never replaced them. But I think that asbestos curtains really did them in. So. Can you imagine how much asbestos was in that old school?
Oh.
And now, it would be...
Okay, you got one for me, Dale?
I do, yes. Blue whales.
Okay.
Okay. They have a body part that weighs as much as an elephant. What body part do you think that would be?
Would that be either the brain or the heart?
Okay. Those were good guesses. You always say that to me. Those are good guesses, but it's the tongue. The tongue of a blue whale weighs as much as an elephant, and their hearts weigh almost a ton, almost 2,000 pounds. And their heart beats only once every 10 seconds.
Resting heart rate of 5 or 6
Yeah.
a minute. That's okay. What are baby rabbits called, Dale?
Oh, I'll say kits.
Good guess. Yes, they are.
are they?
Ding,
Okay.
ding, ding. $1 million in the mail.
And finally, yeah.
Sometimes things get lost in the mail, Dale.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know. I'm familiar with loss.
Yeah.
So I
All
couldn't
right.
think of a couple words already. I had to ask you, help me with this. So, okay. The Eiffel Tower was originally intended Barcelona, Spain. Did you know that?
I did not
and
know
they
that.
turned it, it looked ugly. They turned it down. So Mr. Eiffel went to Paris and said, how about you? And they said, we don't like it either, but they finally got it built there. And now, of course, it's one of the greatest tourist attractions in the world and probably worth millions and millions of dollars every year to France, but nobody wanted it. And I'll give you one more.
Okay.
I got one more here I thought was very interesting. The shortest commercial flight in the world is in Scotland. They have a regional airline called Logan Air, and it flies between the islands of Westray and Papa Westray, and it's 1.7 miles and takes 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
So they fly from one island to the other in 90 seconds. So.
One time I took a flight to Chicago from Waterloo, and we stopped in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
That was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
One other fact before we continue.
All right.
Final fact. There's only one letter that doesn't appear in any American state. What letter would that be?
There's a long pause for those that are just
Y,
listening.
Z, W.
You're not helping. Because Texas has an X, and Wyoming has a Y. And does anything have a Z?
Arizona.
Arizona, okay.
The only letter that doesn't appear in a state is Q.
Oh, sure. That would be the best guess of all.
Yeah, there you go. So those are some fun facts. Sort of some fun facts after we started the show a little dark.
Yeah, down there, yeah. So,
This is the Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network. We're here tonight with Chad Kohagen, the superintendent of schools at Jesup Community Schools. I'm glad to have you back, Chad. You were our first guest.
I'm excited to be back on a nice, cold, rainy night.
Yeah. Winter's coming on, no matter how we try not to, isn't it? So let's get to it. How's things going? You've been at school now. This is your second year. How's things going?
I'm a seasoned veteran now that I've got a year under my belt, and I say that tongue in cheek. Still lots of learning to do, learning curve with, learning how we do things, learning where I can fit in with some new ideas and new thoughts, and blend it in with the staff. And we'll kind of get into a few of those with, working on developing our professional learning communities, our PLCs. The board worked on some goals this last summer, so we're excited about kind of a long-term plan that we put in place with some indicators that we're getting input from the staff, and we'll have a SIAC committee meeting next week. And then also another big thing working on is Portrait of a Graduate that we're just getting off the ground, and we'll be able to dig into that probably a little bit later on as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, and then the bond project, of course. That's I'm sure that's probably the most important thing we should probably hit on just to get everybody updated. But I've got lots of details if anybody wants them.
well, I'd like to hear how the bond issue, how all that construction is going. So, I mean, you see it from the street, but you don't know what's inside. And if you have any idea about time or anything like that, it would be good to know.
Yep, absolutely. We have at least 1 to 2 meetings every single week. The South project, so the South project is 4 classrooms, and you can see the brick is going on that right now, and they'll have windows. Well, they were supposed to have windows in this week. We'll see what the rain brings, but they've got the roof on. They've got the heating and cooling units are on. We are looking to be done the end of November with those 4 classrooms.
Wow.
We'll get our, hopefully the furniture doesn't hold us up to get into the 4 classrooms, but we are planning to be on those once we get back from Christmas break, we'll get some rearranging. Right now, we've got staff in closets. We've got staff, every little space that we have, we're utilizing with teachers and students. So those 4 classrooms will be a nice breath of fresh air to kind of let us spread out just a little bit more in the middle school at least.
Those kids get big, don't they?
It is. What is the with the 3 rural schools, Chad? What's the population of Jesup Community Schools now?
We will be so enrollment has dipped the last couple years. We saw, I think we had a 4 or 5 year increase in enrollment. The last 2 years, last year we were down 24. I say 24 and change because it's certified enrollment doesn't deal with just
Whole people.
Yes, whole people. There's all sorts of variables that go into place, and we're right around that 19 or 20 down this year.
So it's like 60 in 3 years, though, or
It'd be right around there for over the last couple of years. It'll be right around that 45, 50.
okay. Is there any? Have you looked for a reason, or
Absolutely. So I'll start with maybe the good stuff first, but which makes it even more confusing. So our open enrollment we have 119 students that choose Jesup School.
Oh wow, that's an awful lot. isn't
Other
it?
than
Yeah.
their own district
Sure.
that they live in. So we've
Yeah.
got 119 students that open enroll in, and then we have, and that's up 5 from last year. So we always like to see that number. And then open enrollment out, we have 35 that go out, and that's down 2 more. So those are both moving in the right direction. So open enrollment in and out, the net is we like to see that continue to increase. The bigger hit this year is one of our rural schools is going to be down 10, which is actually 2 families.
Yeah,
And so
I've experienced that. Yeah, where one family leaves, and it's a crisis almost because it's a lot of money just leaving with one family.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And so the SS or the district cost per pupil that will get the SSA from the state is $7,635 per student, and you take that times 10, and that's what's coming out of the rural school because they generate just as much as a in-town student
sure.
as well.
Yeah.
So
one kid would have paid my first year's salary when I started teaching.
that has been a little while now.
Oh yeah. We don't want to talk about that, do we?
No, no bitterness there, is there? So how's things going then on the north end of the school?
All right, good. You brought me back. So the north side, they are one of the weird things they had to do was when they did the soil samples. They drill down and they do those cores and they bring them back. And so our soil on the north side was not compactable enough. So what they ended up having to do, so where the greenhouse used to sit on the west side, they had to take about 2.5 feet out of the soil, haul that away, and then as the further you got to the east, so closer to, well, it would have been almost the east side of the parking lot, they had to go down about 4.5, 5 feet.
Oh, wow.
And they had to take all of that soil out because it wasn't compactable enough, which means down the road, we don't want our walls to shift, crack, or our floor to sink or crack and all of that. And then they have to bring back in the good stuff that will pack. And so that took a couple weeks to, it was stuff, you can't see that until you actually start getting into the soil to see how much and how far you have to go down. So that was a little bit of a...
Is there money figured in when you start a project like that for unforeseen?
Yep. So out of the 20 million, there was 670,000 contingency set aside.
Yeah, okay.
So it'll be, we'll have plenty for that. It'll
Okay.
probably be, I'm sure it'll be north of 100,000 more on top of that, but we did have that contingency for that stuff.
Okay. I was sure you did. But
Yep. No, that's a good question. And so, we won't be hitting anybody up for extra money. Extra for that.
Take your hand off your wallet.
And so, then they bring back in all this compactable stuff, and then so today I think they were finished bringing all of that in. It's really amazing how they operate that, and one of the cool things that we've done in conjunction with Larson Construction is our industrial tech classes go out there. I think it's every other week, and they rotate, and they take them on Larson's, the site manager, takes them on a tour, and they kind of look and talk about stuff and ask questions.
Oh,
and
good idea. That's great.
It's a great learning opportunity,
sure.
and they like to get on the site, and so anyway, they'll get now that will get compact now, and then they'll start putting the footings in for the entire footprint. And so the majority of the north side is going to be precast. So precast is basically what our gym walls are made of. They're big giant, for people that don't know, they're big giant slabs of concrete basically that they lean up, and then they stick them together, and then that starts your structure.
Yeah.
And so they're going to start placing those, they think, in December or January.
Oh boy, so
Yeah.
that's pretty quick as well.
Yep. So once those start going up, like I said, that'll start to take some shape then.
Sure.
Once those,
Yeah.
and then it'll look like not a lot's going on once everybody gets inside. But
Yeah.
the nice thing that we had happen with that is we thought originally they were 12 to 18 months out to get the precast, and so with us able to get them in December, they're about 6 or 8 months ahead of schedule.
Okay, that's
with
great.
those. So we're hoping to keep trucking along. The completion date is still, well, on paper it says August of 25, but the contractors are saying we might be able to get done sooner than that, but
Yeah.
don't hold us to it.
Sure.
So
Where are the precasts done at? Chad?
I heard it one time. I mean, they're made in the Midwest here somewhere. I'm not 100% sure which factory ended up getting the bid, but
Right.
yeah, I can get back to you on that.
Oh,
one.
yeah, no, that's fine. That's
Tough
fine.
questions coming out.
I used to know, what's the seating capacity of the theater? Do you remember?
I think it's like 515 is
Okay,
what we're.
I thought it was around 500. Okay.
Yep, what we're planning on, and I think I guess I didn't get an exact number. It was a weird random number.
Yeah.
It wasn't just
Sure.
500
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah. Okay.
We're excited for that. We were able to get the bells and whistles with that. The money allowed us to get that as state of the art technology
yeah.
in there, and sound and lighting. So
Yeah.
it's
a real asset to the community, I think.
Oh,
I
yeah. It's gonna
people
be-
have wanted it for a
gonna
long
be
time.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we did the first bond issue, I was on a group that was pushing for that, and we talked about auditorium, and it was one of those things we said, those are real bond issue killers sometimes, and so we didn't really push for it at
Okay.
that time, and then hoping it would come along later, and now that it has, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, so you talked about the board setting goals this summer. What were some of the goals the board set this summer?
Yeah, so we worked with IESB, so Iowa School Board Association. We work closely with them, and they support every district that wants to utilize them. But so goal number one is academic and whole child growth. So basically, we want relevant, purposeful learning experiences to ensure all students are prepared for success beyond school. And some of the priorities or indicators, we want to make sure that we offer a wide variety of educational opportunities for every student. That's something we look at all the time, making sure that we're well-rounded. It's not just a sports, or it's not just a co-curricular, that students can have it all if they want to when they come to Jesup. They can experience all the activities. A big thing that is kind of like in the sausage making, vertical aligned curriculum for maximum student achievement. So a lot of our in-service time, our PDs, and when we take time, early outs and full days, we talk about our curriculum. And we need to make sure our curriculum maps. So every teacher has a curriculum map which identifies what it is we want all students to know and be able to do. And then it has to be aligned. So we don't have first and second grade teaching the exact same math concept or the exact same literacy concept, or Algebra 1 isn't dabbling too much into Algebra 2 because they need to their scope and sequence.
Yeah, we first made those maps when I was teaching up there, and it was real. If you got a new teacher in,
Yes.
first day you say, okay, here's where we're at, here's what these guys are doing, here's what you're going to be doing, and it was very, very helpful for those young teachers to come in and have an idea of where they were supposed to go with their year. It really helped so those maps were really very valuable things.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, we probably have done them 25 more times since you were there.
Well, I would hope so.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And they need to be a living, breathing document that
They don't
we
need to
can.
know Latin anymore, do they? So
No Latin.
no Latin.
But it is very important. And when we're talking about teacher shortages, and I'm not saying that teaching is easy, but if we can provide them a curriculum map with some scope and sequence and some a pacing guide, we're taking a little bit off their pile, because a brand new teacher is usually working 5, 6, maybe 10 days ahead. And if we can provide that roadmap, we're going to make their job a heck of a lot easier, and then we can support them and we can keep them.
I think that's
Because that's a big deal.
How is the staff? Are you full?
We are full. Yep.
Okay, because I know some schools are having trouble.
Yep.
So,
We have. We still have a few second shift custodians. We could use one or two of those. Our paras. We can, paras are sometimes we're full, sometimes we're not.
Sure,
That's
I
so
understand
student
that, yeah.
dependent. As far as the certified staff, we're filled up. We chased after a couple good candidates that didn't necessarily have the education in that particular area. They were a certified teacher. They maybe just didn't have that particular. So you look for other characteristics that they're good for kids, and so then we can work with them and get the endorsements that we need.
So a lot of schools had trouble with reading scores after the COVID thing. You think are we caught up, or did we have a lot of problems with reading scores? Or
We just started digging into some of that a couple of weeks ago, and our last ISAF score that we took in April we finally got those it was a month and a half ago. We're in pretty good shape. We didn't see much of a dip.
yeah,
And we are, so they have the rural schools, they're kind of separated. But every grade at Jesup School performed higher than the state average.
okay,
In math, reading, and then science is taken in 5th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade. And every category,
Sure.
Jesup performs higher than the state
well,
average.
that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
But there's the Jim Knight book that the biggest problem of becoming great is being good. So we need to continue. We're good,
Yeah.
but let's continue so we can be great.
Yeah.
So.
What other goals did the board set?
Oh yeah, I kind of got sidetracked.
Well, that was my fault.
So goal number 2 of the 3. Positive and inclusive culture. So basically fostering a collaborative, supportive, and secure environment for students and staff. And a big one of indicator for those obviously is staff retention and recruitment. We talked about being resourceful and supporting our teachers, so we get them where we want them, and we want them to stay. And so just being upbeat, being seen, being allowing that voice to be heard, just supporting them any way we can to make sure that they feel ownership and they feel wanted and they feel loved in our district. So that's how we can keep people. And then the third one is kind of it's resource management. So obviously facilities, and making sure that we have update curriculum. Elementary has brand new literacy curriculum, brand new math curriculum that we're in year 2. So I'm feeling pretty good about that resource management part of it. Obviously, we have the bond issue, and I spend quite a bit of time working on those sheets and numbers and my sticky notes and my spreadsheets. But yeah, those are the three big goals for the district to work on, and those are 3, 4, 5-year goals that we'll continue to work through. Basically, then this is the structure. So I just met with the admin team. We have our admin meetings on Tuesday. We met with the admin team, so then they have their building leadership teams. So then they go back. So elementary has their BLT, middle school has their BLT, high school has their BLT, and now they'll take these 3 goals and they'll say, okay, how does the elementary achieve, or what are some indicators that would say in elementary their academic and the whole child growth? And they basically go through this and say, so this is how our elementary is going to reach these goals. And then our middle school and then our high school will do the exact same thing. So,
Thinking about number 2, I was on collective bargaining for many years, and the legislature a few years ago just tore the guts out of that bill. So do you still meet with a a group and talk about contract, or do you have any kind of contract with the teachers, or how does that go anymore?
Yep, we still have a master contract. They gutted, and they made quite a few things illegal to bargain.
Sure.
But we still meet. We have a labor management committee that works through some language, and we work through, and we still negotiate salaries. Basically, when that was gutted, basically negotiate the base salary.
Yeah.
And usually, and then they wrote into law at that time, it's 3% or the CPI, whatever the consumer price index is at that time. And so, yeah.
So not really much to argue about, is there?
Well, right.
We used to have some good sessions, go to 2 a.m. It was just great. So,
yeah. I think everyone probably left those really happy and feeling good.
well, one time after we settled, the superintendent called us all back the next week and said, okay, we need to just have a little happy time here because we can't be all summer all mad at each other. So those things do happen, yes, I know.
So obviously the financial changes in this year's budget, but next year there will be a change. You look at numbers, Chad. How big a change do you see from this year to next year because of the cuts they've done?
So we were fortunate that the schools got a 3% increase last year, which was the highest in, I want to say, 10 or 11 years. So basically what that does, that 3% almost made up the deficit of the being down 24 students, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to do much of a budget guarantee. Therefore, we didn't have to hit property taxes very hard because it was such a small budget guarantee to get those additional dollars just to get us back where we were. So depending on where the SSA lands, if we're down, we have to certify by Sunday, but if we're down 18, 19, 20, if we get another 3%, we'll be close to being able to break even just because it makes up enough of that ground. Yeah,
That's next year. That's next year. I'm not talking this year now. I'm talking for next year.
Right. Yeah. So this year's kids generate next year's
budget. There
budget.
You go. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
So when the legislators meet in January and they're supposed to have SSA carved out within 30 days. Again, they haven't followed that law in several years, but last year was close. So in February we'll know how much each one of our kids are this year for next year's budget, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So
as far as cuts, we were happy with the 3%. But what people don't understand is the schools got 3%. Only the schools that had either steady enrollment or increased enrollment, they're the only ones that actually see new money. Mm-hmm. We didn't see new money. Unless the SSA is high enough, we won't see new money again next year either.
Right.
So I want our viewers to know that, well, you got 3%, but we didn't get 3% because we had decline in enrollment. Yeah. And that's the same with every district. If they have decline in enrollment, they're not seeing, it's not a 3% for them.
Well, how many districts in the state, Chad, and I'm not asking you around how many districts in the state got new money?
There's 328 districts, I think, total. I believe there were 119 that went on a budget guarantee last year.
Okay.
So a little less than half. I'd have to double check my stats.
Right.
The reason there weren't more was just because like if we would have only been down 15 students, 3% would have covered us. Mm-hmm. And so there were enough districts that they were able to still make up it made up the difference to at least get them back to break even.
So are the elementary class sizes comparable to the high school class sizes, or do you see any, are we going to lose every time we graduate a class because the kindergarten class is smaller, or how is that? Do you know anything about that ratio? Or?
Yep. We look at that every year. So we always look at how many graduates. So last year was a positive where we graduated kindergarten, brought in 65 or 66, something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's definitely one of the indicators we look at every year is how many are going out the top, how many are coming in the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the rural schools. So last year we saw there were quite a few 8th graders, but not very many kindergartners this year. Mm-hmm. And so we've already looked. One of our schools will, they'll have, I think, 2 or 3 eighth graders go, and we'll have 7 kindergartners come in. So it kind of ebbs
Yeah.
and flows.
Yeah, I understand that.
With the newer families, but that's definitely an indicator that we look at.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I kind of got myself off track, but our larger numbers which is good, are in our lower sections. We've got a few bubble classes.
Yeah.
Like 6th grade has 80 kids. That's our biggest class right now. But then we're averaging low 60s to mid 70s in the elementary.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big junior class this year right now, because I know that's what messed with the beds for classifications. So we're bumped up into 2A for football, because they use 9th, 10th, 11th grade numbers, and we had a big junior class that kind of bumped us up. I think we're the smallest 2A, or one of the smallest 2As in district football this year. But
You want to be one of the biggest ones.
right.
So,
But we're holding our own there.
yeah.
So
It just seems strange to me, because every indication you walk around and say, okay, this town is growing, but I know our 2020 census was down from 2010, and the school numbers are not soaring, and so it just seemed like we're growing, but the numbers aren't there to
If I can intercede here, as a social studies teacher, we used to talk about this a lot in class. We used to talk about birth rate, death rate. The birth rate is not real high in our country. It's not real high in Jesup.
I understand. Yeah, we're losing population.
Yeah, because of the birth rate.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I drove to Waterloo the other day, and I saw those cars parked on the border of Waterloo Jesup School District. There had to be at least 15 cars parked out there waiting for their kids.
Yeah.
We've got a number coming from there, and what'd you say, 100 plus open
119,
enrollment.
yep.
Yeah.
we get 50 from Waterloo.
Yeah.
And that number grows every year. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
It is. It is. Well, let's talk about a third thing here you have with us. It's called The Portrait of a Graduate. Chad, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is something we're really excited about. In year one, it was kind of drilled into us during superintendent boot camp is, don't change things too fast. Don't come in and wipe the slate clean. And so last year was a lot of learning. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm still learning and figuring things out. But year 2, it's time to start. Where can I make a difference, or where can we start, or which direction can we go? So Portrait of a Graduate actually came through the AEA. Josh Johnson is our regional administrator that's assigned to our district. Good friend of mine, and when he was the WAPSI principal, I was his mentor when I was the O-line principal, and he's kind of done some traveling. And anyway, he brought this up in one of our admin meetings a month ago. And it was Portrait of a Graduate, so it's actually a nationally, it's a national strategy that is across the United States, and he happens to be a trainer in Portrait of a Graduate. And so we were talking about our goals as a district. It was one of the first admin meetings that he had attended with us, and he got to thinking, well, this Portrait of a Graduate will fit nicely with the district and the new goals. So Portrait of a Graduate is, if people haven't gotten a survey yet, we'll make sure everyone gets their hands on a survey. So what it's going to do, and what's drawn me to the Portrait of a Graduate is it's specific to Jesup. And so if every district that does this, it's specific to their district, because we get as much stakeholder input as we possibly can on what you feel are the community, the district, the parents, grandparents, anybody that cares about education. What are the 6 things that you feel are the top priorities that a Jesup graduate needs to have when they're done? So when they get that diploma, we can all say, here's the 6 things that we've worked for, that we've strived for, that we've created with every one of our seniors. And so that's why it's unique to Jesup. And I just had some examples. Van Meter was one of the sample groups, and they were talking about communicate, collaborate, create, and innovate. Those were some of the things that came out of the surveys. So then they talk about a survey and they get all the results, and then we'll talk about it at the School Improvement Advisory Committee. And the board has talked about it, and all of the staff has had some background on Portrait of a Graduate and kind of the steps that we take. The chamber heard about it last week, and so then we'll get business input is a big thing too. So we know what it is we want, our community wants, and I love that, because it's not what Chad Kohagen wants, or it's not what the 7 school board at that time wants. This is something that can continue to live long after several of us are gone. And so then there's an implementation plan. So we'll get all that information, and then we start to do the hard work. So it's not just a high school project or program. Then we go back and we go down to, okay, how's kindergarten going to work? If one of them is collaborate, if we decide one of our characteristics is collaborate, how does the kindergarten going to meet that collaboration with their group to start growing? And then it just it'll work its way all the way through the entire district. So all of the teachers have ownership, and we'll continue to communicate, implement. We'll have some benchmarks along the way, so we know doing okay in this area, not okay in this area. What do we need to fix? I'm pretty excited. I'm very, very new to it. I'm still learning. I brought my slides with me. I'll just read right off the top. It's a process that engages stakeholders to create a picture of what a graduate should look like upon leaving your school. And I guess that's probably the easiest way to put it. But it's exciting, because it's what our Jesup kids, and I have hopefully she'll graduate this year. It'll be my first graduate, and she'll have a Jesup diploma, and I'm pretty excited about that. So
cool. So, you've got a lot going on right now. Incredible amount going on at school, Chad. But there's one other thing we want to talk about before we let you go. We've heard that maybe you're gonna do a write-in candidacy for the city council. Are you? There's 2 seats with no candidates. Are you interested in doing that?
I would be interested. When I heard we had some open spots, I asked my wife what she thought about it, and she instantly said, yes, you should do it. And I guess it's one of those things where I feel like I can contribute. I've got an open mind. I like to collaborate. I like to talk. I'm still learning about Jesup, so it's not like I'm going to come in and sweep everything away, but I feel like it's a way that I can contribute. I can help build the community that I'd like to see, and having the school background, I think is a huge component, because every healthy district you has a good school system. If you've got a poor school system, your community's probably not that great. It's not that healthy. I don't have any statistics that supports that, but I've been around long enough. This is my 27th year in education. I've been in enough areas, enough conversations, enough life experiences to know a good school means a good community, and I feel like I can probably make a difference or contribute. I'm one of those things. I've said to my staff, we can admire a problem, or we can go try to fix it. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I don't know how many other sayings I can throw at you, but those are my slogans for my write-in candidacy.
There you go.
But I would be honored to find a spot there on the city council and see what I can do.
I have one more thing I want to add about the school. With the legislative action, there's always articles about call a kid by his nickname unless his parents agree, and then there's different books that are problems. I see a list of banned books, and I used to teach those books and read those books to my students. And so, have you had to have in-services with your teachers about these new laws, or is that a problem, or are you working with it, or do you have to have training, or how's that going?
That's a good question. And I don't have a definite answer other than we are learning as we're going. I mean, we're building the airplane in the sky.
Yeah.
I
think everybody is, because they gave you no guidelines.
Right.
So,
And that's I'm saying this just, maybe a little sour grapes, but it kind of feels like we're kind of being set up to fail.
that's what
And so I don't want to get too far into
I
the weeds,
understand
but
but I had to ask the question because it just
absolutely
gripes me so much, and so.
Yep, and I will clear up the nickname thing. There's the intent of the law is this is how our attorney said. There's the intent of the law, and then there's the letter of the law, and the silly stuff about, well, my name is William, but everybody calls me Bill.
Yeah.
Technically, the letter of the law probably says you have to have permission to call them Bill.
Yeah.
But the intent of the law wasn't meant for that sort of
Yeah.
thing. It was more supposed to be, the gender identity and
sure.
that sort of thing.
But if somebody wanted to push it, you still could get in trouble, right? If,
Well, trouble or you follow the legal advice and I mean there is a process that we follow.
yeah.
And so you'd get in trouble if you didn't follow the process.
Yeah.
It's the forms and it's the communication. It's and the other side of it is making sure that schools aren't, because I suppose it's happened.
Yeah.
Schools aren't covering up stuff that parents should know about.
Yeah.
Because that's not what we're trying to do. But I suppose probably was either the perception or maybe it did happen because maybe the child was scared.
Yeah.
About letting parents know, and so it's just one of those situations. The books, there's been some discussions with the books. We're doing the best we can with that. A lot of that is perception. A lot of it, if you take the time to read what it is, don't take something out of context.
Yeah.
I guess that's the biggest takeaway is just don't take that little chunk out of context. I did see some of the stuff that one of the legislators sent around to some of the schools, and there was some stuff that had no business being in the library. Again, it's one of those things that there was some stuff that gets put in there, but I guarantee it wasn't a school saying, look how graphic that is, let's put it in our library.
Yeah.
It wasn't that direction at all.
Yeah.
And there's no selection that would go that route. But I just ask people to keep a level head, come have a discussion, communicate. Like I told the staff, don't take to Facebook to air out grievances. Come talk to us.
Yeah.
We may not agree, we may not always get along, but we need to be able to have a discussion and be able to move forward cordially and in a positive direction.
Yeah. Well, I hope that goes well for you. 'Cause keeping a level head part is.
Right.
Thank you very much for answering that for me.
You bet. You bet.
Thanks for being
That was
with
probably
us,
the
Chad.
toughest one I had tonight. So
I told you Dale's a hard hitter. Thanks for being with us, Chad. Thank you
absolutely,
so
have
much.
a good time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and I'm Jim Gillespie with Dale Rueber and producer Blake Tempus as we talk a little bit about construction going on in Jesup. I see that they've got it paved up to 6th Street, Dale. That's North Street from the golf course
Yeah.
up to 6th Street.
Yeah.
They have
'Cause-
1 block or 2 blocks to go.
Yeah, because last week you could go on First Street and get on and go down past the golf course. They were past that, and so they're making real good progress.
They are.
And they're going to put some kind of coating on Young Street down here towards, and I think they're doing that this fall, which will that be kind of done. But it just looks like there's a lot of work there yet. New sewer system out there, they're still working away on that, and so a lot of good things going on. And they're bad while they're happening, but once they're done, it's really nice to. And did you know they're going to blacktop down here in front of Swan and Rose, that block there, or?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until it was done. It just took
Yeah.
them a day, I think, and so that's really nice.
It is. It
Because
is.
that was a pretty bad. All these little improvements, they do help.
Don't forget, December 2nd is Jesup celebrates the start of Christmas in the Frontier Park across the road from City Hall there. We will be trying to do our podcast that night. I'm going to ask Dale, with his connections to the government, to try to get us in the band gazebo. There is power in the band gazebo, and we can plug things in. That way, we don't have to plan on batteries for that night.
Sure, that'd be great.
So if you can talk to Mr. DeWall, or not DeWall, Mr. Fetkether,
Yeah.
at City Hall for us to get us the the band gazebo. That
Okay.
way Blake can, and there is internet in that band gazebo as well. So that works out real well for us.
So we're gonna have a Steve Brown Art Center parka we can wear that night, or a T-shirt won't really do it. So
Hopefully by then I'll have a banner that we can hang there.
okay, that'd be nice.
Yes,
So, yeah.
yes. So that is December 2nd. We don't know the hours yet, but we look forward to that night as well. Remember, we're sponsored as always by Derek's Repair Shop. Derek Marty does a wonderful job. If you need detailing of your vehicle or need any automobile repairs, call 319-215-8167. I spoke to Derek this past week, and we were looking for someone that had been to Wadena, and he gave me a couple names, so I'm in negotiations to have them on the podcast.
On that night, December 2nd, or some other
No,
time?
some other
okay.
time.
Yeah.
But one of them actually gives a presentation, and some night when we do our podcast, I'll have them in. He's a former owner of Barney's in Wadena, the bar there.
Okay.
And we will set up and have a crowd, and you and I can interview Barney here at Cowork 591.
Okay.
So
We're getting big, aren't we? We have an audience? A live audience?
we will try to do that
Wow,
that
okay.
night.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's our intention.
That'd be nerve-wracking, won't it?
A lot of people would be interested in that. I think
I think so, yeah, because Iowa history.
it is. So the thank goodness there are no obituaries for this week.
2 weeks in a row, right?
That is
Okay.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. How you feeling?
I am feeling froggy, gonna jump probably. Here's something that has always interested me, Dale. Coincidences involving President Lincoln and President Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
Both presidents were elected to their presidency in the year of 60. Obviously, Lincoln in 1860 and John F. Kennedy in 1960. Both presidents were elected to the United States House of Representatives in 46. Both were runners-up for the party's nomination for vice president in 56. Both successors were Southern Democrats named Johnson, born in 08. Both presidents were concerned with the problems of American blacks and made their views strongly known in 63. Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862, which became law in 1863. In 1963, Kennedy presented his reports to Congress on civil rights, and the same year was the famous March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Both presidents were shot in the head. Both presidents were shot from behind. Both presidents were shot in the presence of their wife. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both presidents were accompanied by another couple. Rathbone was with Lincoln, and
The Connollys with Kennedy.
Connolly's with Kennedy.
Okay.
The male companion of the other couple was wounded by the assassin. Connolly was shot, and Rathbone was cut, was sliced by a knife.
I didn't know that.
Lincoln was shot at Ford's Theater. Kennedy was shot in a Lincoln automobile made by Ford. That's a stretch.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy.
Yep. That's one I did know, yeah.
And
Kennedy's secretary was
who told him not to go to the theater. Kennedy had a secretary named Evelyn
Lincoln. Yeah.
who was born 100 years after Lincoln and whose husband Harold's nickname was Abe, who warned him not to go to Dallas. Both Oswald and Booth were killed before they could put on a trial. Lincoln and Kennedy each have 7 letters. That's a push as well.
Yeah.
Lincoln and Kennedy both have 5 syllables in their full name, which counts Kennedy's middle initial. Again, they're pushing it.
Well, yeah.
John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald each have 15 letters and 3 words.
Yeah. And they used the middle names, too. Yeah, okay.
There are 6 letters in each Johnson's first name, Andrew and Lyndon.
Lyndon, yeah.
Booth ran from a theater to a warehouse, and Oswald ran from a warehouse to a theater. So those are some coincidences involving President Lincoln's and Kennedy's assassination. So Dale, let's talk a little bit about the assassination of President Kennedy. Do you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted on his own?
No, I think there had to be more. If you look at Lee Harvey Oswald, you just don't see him having what it takes to plan something like that. Lee Harvey Oswald learned how to shoot a high-powered rifle in the Marine Corps, and I learned how to shoot a high-powered rifle in the Marine Corps. Lee Harvey Oswald was not considered to be a great shot, and the shot he took was at an angle, a downward angle, which is not easy to do. And the land was kind of rolling. The wind can have for him to shoot that accurately to get a headshot, it just seems improbable. And so I've always felt that maybe somebody else took that shot from another location that he may have fired, but I'm not sure that he's the one that had the kill shot. I don't know. Though did they have ballistics checks were those bullets ever?
Well, the one bullet, there was one bullet found of the 3 shots.
Okay, that matched his rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then maybe I'm crazy then too, but it just seems improbable to me that those 3 shots were as accurate as they were, and it was a bolt action rifle too, right?
It was a bolt
Yeah,
action. It was
so-
an Italian-made
Yeah.
bolt action rifle.
And so
gun.
every time you move the bolt, then you lose your sight picture, and you have to acquire it again. And those shots were pretty quick, together. And so with like a semi-automatic, you don't lose your sight picture because you keep it aimed. But with the bolt action, you have to manipulate the bolt, and you lose your sight picture for the most part. I don't know. I just have always felt that it was very unlikely that he was the person that did it.
All right. So when Kennedy died, Bobby Kennedy and Lyndon talked.
Mm-hmm.
Lyndon Johnson spoke almost immediately, and it was their intention to quell any conspiracies at all.
Right.
I mean, even in 1963, like today, conspiracies were rampant.
And right away too.
And right away.
Yeah.
And so both the vice president and the secretary of, the attorney general, their intention was to quell that as quick as they could because they didn't want the nation to go on dealing with that.
But it must have been hard because they did not like each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
The other thing is, you look at 9/11 and there's all sorts of conspiracies. You look at the last presidential election, there's all sorts of conspiracies. Just because there's a conspiracy, and as I say this, I'm not attacking you, because there's hundreds of books written on the assassination of Kennedy.
Sure. And
just because there's a conspiracy doesn't make it so. And so let's talk, for example, about him being a bad marksman. He had 12 seconds. 12 seconds, a long time.
It's a lot of time, right?
His first shot, he had minutes, hours.
Sure.
His first shot was from the shooter's nest, 6th floor of the Dallas School Book Depository. And he could set his gun and wait for the perfect shot. Now that shot ricocheted off the curb. He missed. So, your argument comes into play. It's a pretty good argument. The second shot is what people want to call the magic, the zigzagging bullet. If you watch Seinfeld talks about the magic bullet in a funny way because Newman was in the movie Oliver Stone's JFK.
Okay.
And they talk about the magic bullet in that movie. But what they don't talk about is, they want to say the magic bullet, goes down through, goes through the back of Kennedy's neck, out the front, then hits Conley,
yeah.
Conley, and they want to say that the seat is too low. But remember, the vehicle that Kennedy and Conley in were specially made, and it was a presidential car, and the seat was up higher. It was not.
Oh, I suppose for the people to see him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it wasn't as magic as everybody wants you to believe. So that second shot. So here you go. So this is 6 seconds. So the shot goes off. I'll do the first shot, and that one hits the curb. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006.
Yeah.
And that's a horrific headshot.
And that's plenty of time.
That's a long time.
Yeah. To rechamber around and acquire a sight picture.
Yeah. And remember, the car slowed down because there is a panic, and they're trying to get the Secret Service up to Q. So that's part of my argument.
We always look at any crime. You say who benefits is one of the first things they look at. Happened in Texas, a shot by a Texan. The guy who shot the killer was a Texan, and Lyndon Johnson was a Texan, and he benefited the most because the word was the Kennedys were going to drop him in the next race as vice president. And so Johnson, who was a very, very powerful senator, and then went to vice president, then would be nothing. And so the conspiracy was that's something he couldn't take. And so this was a plan where he would be the one who would benefit. And so he was behind, at least in some way, this assassination. So
right.
That's and I'm not saying that's what I believe, but I think it's a good thing it's something they should look at. I don't know if they ever did or not, because it's hard to investigate the president, as we now know very well.
Sure.
So, but that was always the thing, is that he was the one that benefited the most from Kennedy's death. And so that after all these years, we don't have more information, or that someone hasn't pulled the rabbit out of the hat. Well, I know we have lots of information, but hasn't been able to pull the rabbit out of the hat or found something written down, somebody that will testify that Jack Ruby knew so-and-so who knew so-and-so who, lined him up to do this, because that shooting makes no sense at all unless Ruby is part of some conspiracy, as far as I'm concerned. So
there's an old saying, Dale. You tell 3 people know a secret. The only way those 3 people are going to keep a secret is if 2 of them are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it is.
Yeah.
It's been since 1963, Dale. There's no way that a conspiracy of that magnitude could be kept a secret if it was a secret.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I can't argue that. I think it's very, very doubtful, but it's something to think about.
Right, right.
'Cause if you don't know, make up your own.
Sold a lot of books, man.
That's the thing. And probably if somebody came up with a new wrinkle, it would sell more books, even still. Because very popular young president, had a young family, nice wife, and it was a great loss to the country. They really felt it. And so whether he was a great president or not, will that'll sort itself out over time. But, I mean, he had his flaws like everybody else. But
right.
He was fun. He's the last president we had that probably was, you could say, he was a lot of fun. His news conferences would people be laughing, and the give and take of it, and he was enjoying himself. And now they get up there and look like they're being tortured to death because, what's they going to ask me next? And so, I don't know, it was just the kind of guy you'd like to know.
The thing that has changed dramatically is this. You go back to the assassination. There's one video of the shooting, the Zapruder film. Mm-hmm. There's only one video of the, I mean,
it's hard to understand in this day and age, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, heck, you, I, and Blake, all 3 of us would be standing there with our phones filming it.
Probably only Blake's would turn out though. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's one of the reasons why we sit with the issues we have in Gaza, or with President Trump, or with President Biden, or with President Hunter Biden, or whoever, is because they say one thing and AI can change the.
Yeah.
When I was up in Minnesota on assignment, somebody came to me and said, "Well, did you see Brian Farron said about people crawling up his backside on a ladder, or crawling out of his backside on a ladder?"
Yeah.
And for 2 days, I thought about that, and finally I looked at social media, and that was AI.
Yeah.
He never said that.
Yeah.
We can make each other look pretty good or pretty bad today.
Now they did a newscaster was doing this, and they took some past reports he had done and took what he had said, and they put him in a place where he had never been, saying things he had never said, and it looked just as real could be.
Yeah.
And so I don't trust anything.
No.
You can't trust anything.
Our voice is out there now, Dale.
You think somebody's going to AI us?
Well, it'd be real easy for them to do it now.
Yeah. Well, they can't make us look any worse than we are.
You're
We're
right.
safe there. So, yeah, it's scary. I tell them the other day, if they stopped technology in 1965 and never got any more, I'd be a happy person, because I would understand my world completely.
Yeah.
And but now, I would telephone. I don't know. I can't do 90% of the stuff that phone can do.
Right. And I don't
have a
want to
19-year-old kid come over and explain my computer to me today, so I could turn it on. And so it's sad. It's sad to feel so stupid over things that other people just take for granted and zip right through it. So I don't know. I think I'm going to go hide someplace in Minnesota and be a recluse or whatever.
You're too close to your grandchildren,
I
Dale.
know,
You
I
don't
know.
want to do
Yeah.
that. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We want to thank the people at Cedar Rock by Frank Lloyd Wright. Katie Hund is the executive out there. She hosted us along with pianist Abby Brewer on Sunday. We had a crowd of about 20 people in the house for a house concert, and they have a Steinway piano out there. And we want to thank Abby as well. Abby was incredible. She played American classics, and by American classic piano writers, the Bachs of America.
Oh, okay.
And the Beethovens of America. It was incredible. For someone that struggles to play the radio, I learned a lot. Thank goodness. So we want to thank Abby and Katie and the people at Cedar Rock. We want to thank Laces. Laces helped supply the hors d'oeuvres out there. The supplier was Miss Maroney, Bridget Maroney from Independence.
Okay.
She brought some things that were too good for a fat man. I'm still battling my diet, and I'm proud to say, Dale, I am down to 2. I'm down to the lightest I've been since last spring. I'm at 213.2 this morning.
So just 3.2 pounds to go, right?
Yes,
Okay.
but then the issue is keeping it off at 3.2. That I can usually lose the weight. The battle is to keep the weight off.
Yeah.
So my clothes are fitting again, though. Thank
Well,
goodness.
that's nice.
Yeah.
You look good.
You're terrible. You're a terrible liar, but you're kind, Dave.
Yes, well, if you can't be honest, at least be kind, I guess. No, I think you do look good. You're
thank
very
you.
fit for a man your age.
Thank
so,
you. For a guy that's 39.
Yes.
All right.
Plus shipping and handling.
Yeah, that's it. Don't forget, Nightmare in the Woods at Eagle Lake. It's a haunted hayride, October 13th, 14th, 20th, 21st, 27th, and 28th, Friday and Saturday nights.
Was that where the water skiers are?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, it
yeah,
is.
all right, I know where that is.
It goes from dark to 11 p.m.
Oh, wow.
There are food trucks on Saturdays. Always got to like the food.
Yeah.
All tickets are $15. Front of the line options available. I suppose it means you give more money, you get to go to the front of the line.
More than likely.
Yeah. Eagle Lake, Evansdale, exit 68 off of Highway 20, then south onto Gilbertville Road. Proceeds benefit Waterhawk ski team. I know that Justin Casillas and his wife, Krista, are part of the Waterhawk ski team.
Yeah. My favorite story about the Waterhawks is I was up on Prospect Street helping to line up the Farmers Day Parade. Mm-hmm. So up 5th Street comes this beautiful truck pulling this giant boat. And so I walk up to the driver and I say, "Are you going fishing or do you want to be in the parade?" And he said, "You don't fish out of this boat, buddy." I thought that was so funny because he took me seriously, Said, "No, just pull around the corner and you'll be in line, for the parade." But I don't think a Northern has ever been flopping around on the deck of that boat.
Yeah.
So.
Don't forget, November 3rd, the Littleton Chatham Historical Society is having a chiller supper, and the Steve Brown Arts Center is sponsoring Owen artist Mandy Betts.
Okay.
She will be there. That art show runs from 5 until 7. Don't forget, the Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of the people around. If you have things that or would like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link or call us at 319-290-0241. Thanks, Derek Marty, for giving us our connections to the Wadena Rock Festival. More on that later. I'm Jim Gillespie. Thanks to co-host Dale Rueber. Thanks to Chad Kohagen for coming in tonight. And thanks to our producers, Blake Tempus and Kelly Seahas. Congratulations, Sean Westfall, on becoming the new executive officer at Heartland here.
Oh, okay.
Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. And remember, each day is about little victories.
Very much.